the list of all the patrons for this temple. And I saw maybe 80% of the list was from the Hindu community. So I was very impressed with the support coming from the Hindu people who are here in Copenhagen. It's very generous of all of you to contribute here to help to establish our center. Of course, we have centers all over the world, and we are trying to present this message of Bhagavad Gita to the world. Not only Bhagavad Gita, we also want to introduce people to the chanting of the Maha Mantra. The chanting of the Maha Mantra is very, very important. So these two things, the message of Bhagavad Gita and the chanting of the Maha Mantra, they can help us to get all perfection in our life. But although it's so simple and so easy, people find it difficult to do these things. You know, Srila Prabhupada, he came to the Western world, and initially he was asking the devotees that they should all chant 64 rounds. And the devotees just fell over in astonishment. They said, no way, impossible. We could never chant so many rounds. 64 rounds means 100,000 holy names. 100,000 holy names. So it was considered, you know, in the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone was chanting like that. And even you had people like Haridas Thakur, he was chanting 300,000 names every day. Of course, Haridas Thakur, he is the Nam Acharya. He is the Acharya in the chanting of the holy names. Acharya meaning one who teaches by his example. So Haridas Thakur was chanting all day, and most of the night as well. Practically, there was hardly any time left. The whole time was spent in chanting the holy name. Of course, we cannot do like that. You have other things to do. You know, many of you have jobs and other people cooking and cleaning and so many things to be done at home, family to take care of. Where is the time to chant so many rounds? So similarly, when Prabhupada went to the West and he asked everyone to chant 64 rounds, they said to Srila Prabhupada, impossible, we can't do it. And so then Srila Prabhupada said, all right, then chant 32 rounds. But still, the devotees they said, wow, Prabhupada, it's just too much. We just cannot do it. It's so much time. And so then finally Srila Prabhupada gave another concession. He said, all right, then chant 16 rounds. But that is the minimum. You must chant at least 16 rounds. And you should not chant less than that. So devotees were initiated. Srila Prabhupada would make us promise at the time of initiation in front of the deities. We would make a vow that, yes, promise to chant 16 rounds every day. Now, chanting 16 rounds takes probably 2 hours, maybe 3 hours even, to chant 16 rounds. It's not impossible. That's the thing. That if you're serious in your vow to chant the Maha Mantra, then you can do it. Of course, you have to make a program. You have to make a timetable or a plan to chant. It doesn't happen automatically. You know, we encourage the devotees to wake up early in the morning. Of course, that is a challenge for people sometimes, asking people, wake up early in the morning. And Srila Prabhupada, he used to write letters to many devotees, and he would say, make sure you get up by 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 a.m., right? So, of course, that's the time people take rest sometimes, right? More people they're up all night. Sometimes I would see in our center, sometimes people would come to the temple and they'd been up all night. They're coming from maybe their job. I remember in London, we had one man used to come to the Mongol Arti. And so I asked him, I said, it's very good. You come every morning to Mongol Arti. He said, yeah, I'm just coming from work. I work in the casino. You know, he's in the casino the whole night. So poor fellow. Anyway, you have to make a living. Sometimes people have to do these things. Anyway, the principle is, you know, the morning hours are very conducive to spiritual life. If you chant in the early morning, there's a period called Brahma Muhurta, which means about 1.5 hours before sunrise. Now, that would be difficult here. I see the sunrise is about 3 a.m. In the summer, of course. In the winter, it's very different. Anyway, these principles about Brahma Muhurta. But 4 a.m. it's a good time. You know, I travel quite a bit. I'm teaching Krishna consciousness in in Asia and countries like Thailand, which is a Buddhist country. So sometimes when I'm moving around, I have nowhere to stay. So rather than stay in hotels, I will go to a Buddhist temple and they will allow me to stay overnight. And they always get up 4 a.m. in the morning. They have a big bell and you hear boom, you know, and all the monks will just come up. They'll just wake up, you know, and they'll go and do their morning ablutions and like that. Of course, it's convenient. At least I can get a place to stay. I couldn't get anything to eat, of course. They would ask me, would you like something to eat? And I say, well, I'm a vegetarian. Then they said, well, then we have nothing. Everything they eat was meat, fish, and eggs, you know, all the things which were given to the monks in the marketplace. This is the Theravada Buddhism. There's 2 schools. Yeah. So they're not vegetarian. They eat everything. But this, of course, is another principle which is important for us in practicing spiritual life, that we try to wake up early in the morning, and we're also careful about what we eat. What you eat, it reflects your consciousness. One man said, you are what you eat. You know, so you eat food which is of a quality of the mode of ignorance, tamagun, then we will reflect that consciousness in our own actions and behavior. The body is not a garbage container. We have to take care of it, and we want to put the pure foodstuffs in the body. Disease comes from the mouth. In China, they say like that what you put in the mouth, that's what can give you disease. You have to be very careful what you put. And if you take things like seafood and different animal flesh, then certainly you're risking your health. It's very risky for the health. So it's a basic principle in spiritual practice that we should eat vegetarian food. But we're not simply vegetarian. Rather, we are Krishnatarian. The food which we eat, we offer to Lord Krishna. So that's also an important aspect that we want to offer. And how do we offer to Krishna? Simply by prayer. We offer by prayer. Lord Krishna is a person and he can hear. He can hear everything we say. And when we offer prayers, our prayer is to invite the Lord to come and eat and to take away the sins from the food. Because vegetarian food also has karma. It's also a form of life. We've taken the life of the vegetables. But by offering them to Lord Krishna, then the reactions of that activity are removed. So that's why it's very important that we should make an offering of the food, just simply by praying, just simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord. And then you can call out to Krishna, my dear Lord Krishna, food is now ready. Please come and eat. We should think like that. We practice Krishna consciousness in the mode that we are servants of Krishna. We're staying here in this center for the service of the deity. We're not here to enjoy, but we're here to serve. Our position in this world is to be the servant. We often forget this. We have to be reminded. We have to remind ourselves constantly about this. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is our great personality in the Kali Yuga, he has come to teach the religious principles in the age of Kali. He says that we are all servants of Krishna. Jiver Swarupahaya Nitya Krishna Das. Right? Krishna is the master and we are the servants. And our service begins with the chanting of the holy name. We need to chant. And then we need to also serve. We need to do service for Krishna. And what we can do is whatever you cook, you can offer it to Krishna. And then you distribute the prasadam to your friends and family, to the neighbors, to everyone, whoever would like. Just like here at the temple, it is open for everyone to come and get some prasadam. We like to distribute prasadam for everyone. No one should go hungry. Prabhupada was in Mayapur in Bengal. It's the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where he appeared more than 500 years ago. And in Srila Prabhupada's time, there was some poverty in that area. It was a rural area. It had been jungle in the past. And so it was not much developed. And there was some poverty there. So Srila Prabhupada was concerned. Srila Prabhupada, as a devotee, he's very compassionate on others. He cares about other people. And when he was in Mayapur and he saw the people, he saw actually how the children were even coming to the garbage where things were being thrown away. Srila Prabhupada was very concerned. And he told the devotees, no one should go hungry within 10 kilometers of the temple. So he wanted that the devotees would go out and distribute food. And during COVID recently, I had the opportunity, during the COVID period, I was there in Mayapur, and I spent a few years just there in Mayapur during COVID. And the devotees were every day going out to the villages, to the different areas, to distribute foodstuffs to the people, because they knew that there was hardship during that time. So this is our duty as a devotee of Krishna. We have to see Krishna in the heart of everyone, even in the dogs. Lord Chaitanya would be merciful even to the dogs. And there's a famous story which is there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anybody's Bengali here? Any Bengalis here? No? Yeah, Bengali? Balawachan? Yes. Yeah. Good. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita is Bengali literature, very famous literature in Bengal. And anybody who studies Bengali literature, they will study the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it describes there the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it describes how every year the devotees would journey from Mayapur, they go to Jagannath Puri. And that's, walking all the way Bengal, right through Orissa, all the way down to Puri on the coast there. No, it takes a few weeks to walk. And you have to cross several rivers and so on. It's quite an arduous journey. Anyway, the devotees would do it every year because they wanted to attend the Rath Yatra. We just had Rath Yatra last week, actually, in Jagannath Puri. In Orissa, they celebrated Rath Yatra. And many of our centers around the world, they also celebrated this Rath Yatra. And the people would come from Bengal all the way to Jagannath Puri to attend that festival. But they would also come to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So every year, the devotees would go and there would be a party, many people all together. They would walk together on boat, walking and then taking boats across the river and so on. So it happened, one dog started to follow the devotees. So the devotee in charge of the party, he saw there's a dog following us. So he thought, this dog must also be a devotee. And when they were walking, the dog was walking. And every day when they stopped to take prasad, they'd give prasad to the dog. And the dog was following them every day. And even they got to the point where they had to cross a river, get on the boat. The man in charge would pay some extra money for the dog to come on the boat also. Just like here in Europe. Well, I don't know about here in Denmark, but I know in Switzerland, they told me, if you take the dog on the tram, you have to pay for the dog also, You have to buy a ticket for the dog also. So they got on the boat and they had to pay for the dog also, 500 years ago, even then. So anyway, the dog was following them every day, but then somehow one day they forgot to give the dog prasadam. And then the dog just suddenly disappeared and nobody knew where the dog had gone. And the devotee who was in charge of the party, he felt very guilty that, oh, we have not given food for the dog, therefore the dog has gone away. And he felt so guilty, he fasted that day. He would not take prasadam himself. He thought, they did not give prasadam to the dog, I will not also take prasadam. But then when they got to Jagannath Puri, they found that the dog was there. And Lord Chaitanya was cutting the meat from the inside of the coconut and he was giving the coconut pulp to the dog. And the dog was chanting, Hare Krishna. And then the dog disappeared. The dog got liberated. So this example shows how the devotees take care for all different animals and creatures and try to give them Krishna consciousness. And there's great devotees in the line of disciplic succession. They had disciples who were animals. There was one elephant became a devotee. And another time a tiger became a devotee and surrendered to this one very powerful acharya, Rasikananda. There was this Rasikananda acharya. He had disciples, the elephant, Gajendra, and the tiger, these amazing devotees. So animals can also be in Krishna consciousness. Actually, one of our devotees has written a book about animals in Krishna consciousness. And he describes different animals, how they showed great devotion for Lord Krishna. In South India, of course, in South India, some of the temples, they have elephants. And the elephants are trained to do different services for the deity. Just like in Sri Rangam, every morning an elephant will carry the priest into the temple. And the priest will come off the back of the elephant and he'll bring the water for the deity. And then they will read the report. And the elephant will bow down, offer obeisances to the deity. So there are many examples like this, that Krishna consciousness is in all living entities. But we're especially concerned for humans. The human form of life is special, of course, greater than any other lower species of life. The human life is very important because it's in the human life that we can inquire. We can try to understand, who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? We can be introspective. We can ask questions and try to understand the goal of life. This is the special feature of the human life. And if we do not do these things, then we're wasting the human life. If we just simply live in this body and only eat and sleep and mate and defend, that is what the animals are doing. The human life is meant for inquiry. It's meant for investigation into the truth, to understand the absolute truth. And this is where the Bhagavad Gita comes in. That the Bhagavad Gita can give us the answers to all of our questions. I had the experience myself growing up in the UK. I had a lot of questions about life. I wanted to know, what is the goal of life? Why are we here? What is the purpose behind this world? And no one could give me any satisfactory answers until I met the devotees and until I read Prabhupada's books. That Srila Prabhupada could perfectly present the answers to all these questions which I had. And Srila Prabhupada directs us to read books like Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita, we see how Lord Krishna is answering Arjuna's problems. Arjuna, of course, is in a dilemma. He does not know what he should do. Should he fight or should he just leave the battlefield? And Lord Krishna was there to guide him. Arjuna was intelligent, that he had the good sense to take advantage of Lord Krishna's presence and to inquire from him. So that is the beginning of one's spiritual life. When we are fortunate, then we will find out the persons who can guide us and who can answer our questions about life. the spiritual teachers, they have that knowledge and they can open our eyes. We were offering the prayers at the beginning. We were saying, Om Agyana Timarandasya, that I was born in the darkest ignorance. We're born in that kind of ignorant condition where we identify with the body and we're thinking, I am this body. But the spiritual teacher can open our eyes to understand our actual identity as a spiritual being, to understand ourselves not just simply as the flesh, but as a spiritual being, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Yes, there is a personality behind this world. There is a supreme being. We can refer to him as the form of the absolute truth. If we simply say God, the understanding is not very complete because there are many gods. There's the God of the sun, there's the God of wind, there's the God of wealth, there's the God of rain. There's so many different gods. But above all of these different gods, there is the absolute truth, the Supreme Lord. And we want to understand that person. And this is revealed to us in the course of the Bhagavad Gita. By reading the Bhagavad Gita, we hear Lord Krishna defeat Arjuna's different arguments for not taking part in the battle. Lord Krishna, one by one, dismantles all Arjuna's objections. Arjuna, for example, was worried about the sinful reactions which would come upon him for taking part in some ghastly warfare. But Lord Krishna explained to him karma yoga, that if you do your duty, take part in the battle as karma yoga, then there is no reactions. When you perform the work in a detached manner, that is karma yoga. You do your duty, but in a detached manner. Karma yoga is described in the Bhagavad Gita, karmani evadikaraste mapaleshu kadachana. Na karma pala heturbur mate sangost vakarmani. It's a very well-known verse, but most people only know the first part of the verse. Lord Krishna says, karmani eva adhikaraste, that I have a right to do my duty. I have a right to work. People, they like this idea that, Krishna says we have a right to do our duty, to make our money, to do our business. Yes, they know that part. They know the first part. But the second part, they don't know so well. Because the verse goes on to say, Mapalishu kadachana. You are not entitled to enjoy the fruit of the work. The fruit of the work is not for us. Then it's karma yoga. When you work in a detached manner, detached from the fruit, from the results of the work. We give the fruit, the results of the work are given to Lord Krishna for him. That is karma yoga. And the verse goes on to say, never consider yourself to be the cause of the results and never be attached to not doing your duty. So do everything for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness, working for Krishna. We are conscious, but we are simply conscious of the material body. We are simply conscious of what we want. we have the tendency to be very selfish. But if we practice Krishna consciousness, we will become selfless. Right? From selfish, we have to become selfless. Selfless means we don't care about ourselves. We care about others. Just like Srila Prabhupada went to the West, he didn't go for himself. He went for others. He went to give Krishna consciousness to others. You know, did we come to Denmark simply for service to Krishna? No, of course not. You know, everybody came here, we came for our own needs, right? We came for our own, what we wanted. People come here. But we can purify that consciousness by cultivating the consciousness of Lord Krishna, seeing ourselves in relationship to Him. It is important for us to develop this kind of consciousness, to give up the selfishness, I want, right? In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna describes there are two natures, Daivi Sampad and Asuric Sampad. There are only two natures. Some people, they say, oh no, there should be another nature. There should be something in between. But sorry, there's nothing. There's either one side or the other side. Either Daivi Sampad or Asuric Sampad. So, Daivi Sampad means like a devotee. Devotee means selfless. We simply do everything as a service for the pleasure of the Lord. Nothing is mine, right? Queen Kunti describes like that in her prayers. Queen Kunti is offering prayers to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna had given a lot of mercy to Queen Kunti and her sons, the Pandavas. And then Lord Krishna was ready to go back to Dwarka. But before he went back to Dwarka, Queen Kunti approached him and offered her heartfelt prayers. And she describes, she says, there are many beautiful verses, but one of the verses I wanted to bring to your attention is where Queen Kunti says, Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shribir Edamana Madapuman Naivarhati Avadatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. Akinchana Gocharam. Lord Krishna is the property of the materially impoverished. Those who possess nothing, who claim nothing as their own, Lord Krishna is their property. He appreciates that. But those who are on the path of material progress, and the path of material progress is Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, and Shri, right? We want, good birth. We want wealth, opulence. We want beauty. We want education. These things. We get caught in this material atmosphere. We're thinking about all of these things, which are all in relation to the body. Education. You go to schools and colleges, get education, spend so much money, so much time and labor to get education, to become more attached to the body, to identify more with this body. And you want to be beautiful, but how long do you keep your beauty? The beauty will go very quickly. You get older. And then your wealth every year is diminishing. Every year the prices are all going up, and your wealth is, the value of your wealth is going down and down. You know, what was 500 rupees 20 years ago? You know, it was a lot of money. But today 500 rupees is just like nothing, you know, in India. Times change, our opulence. So all of these things, the birth, that's the body. You take birth. How long are you going to stay in the body? You're going to have to give it up. And where will be your next birth? You can have very good birth in this life, next life, you don't know where you will be. There's a famous story about the astrologer came to the village, and the astrologer was asked to meet different people and to give them blessings. So the first one who came was the son of a king. So he told them, he told the son of the king, Rajaputra Charanjiva. Rajaputra means the son of the king, the son of the king. Charanjiva, don't die, live forever. Why? Because he's the son of the king. You know, he's a rascal, number one. He's a debauchee. He has so much money, he can do anything he wants. Nobody can control him. Nobody can say, you can't do that. He's the son of the king. He can do what he wants. So when he dies, he's going to suffer a lot, right? So better you don't die. So astrologer blessed him. Rajaputra Charanjiva. And then next came the Rishi's son. The Rishi's son is living with his father in the forest. And living in the forest, they just eat some wild potatoes and they just get some grass and whatever they can find from the trees. You know, they live very simple life. They drink the water from the stream and like this. He's doing great tapasya, great austerities. So, it said, Majiva Rishi Putraka, the son of the Rishi, may your death come soon. Right? Majiva Rishi Putra, may you die soon. It's a blessing. Why? Because he's doing so much austerity. Next life, when he dies, he'll get the results of all that austerity. He'll get a very good birth. So the astrologer blessed him, may you die soon, because your next life will be very good. Because he never did any harm to anyone. So you get very good. Then next came the butcher, the son of the butcher. Vyadi. Vyadi means the butcher or the hunter. He said, Majiva Mamara. Don't live, don't die. For the butcher or the hunter, bless them. Don't live, don't die. Why? Because he's living in hell, and when he dies, he will go to hell. But next came the devotee son. Jivava Marava Sadhu. Jivava, doesn't matter. The sadhu and the sadhu's son, doesn't matter if he lives or if he dies. Because he's living in Krishna consciousness. Every day he's chanting the holy name and he's eating prasadam, he's seeing the deities. And next life, when he dies, he'll go on and serve Krishna in some other place. So that is the idea, that if you're chanting Hare Krishna, doing service for Lord Krishna, then you don't have to worry if you live or if you die. Doesn't make any difference. Because you live with Krishna, and next life you'll go on and serve Krishna. So devotees are not afraid of death. Just like in Srimad Bhagavatam, Dhruva Maharaj he had gone to Badarik Ashram, and he was in Badarik Ashram, and then suddenly an aeroplane came from Vaikuntha, and they told Dhruva Maharaj, we've come to take you to Vaikuntha. And so At that time, death personified came before him. And Dhruva Maharaj simply, he stood on the shoulders of death personified and got into the aeroplane and went on to Vaikuntha. So like that, devotee, Krishna conscious life, it's without fear of material existence. In the material world, everyone is fearful. Fear, eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing. We are fearful of our future. We're fearful of the economy. We're fearful of being made redundant, losing our job. We're fearful of illness, like when the COVID was here, then everyone was fearful of the disease. So we live in fear like that. But that fear is all in relation to the body. And the body is simply the vehicle of the self. We have to understand our actual identity as a spiritual being. This body is just a dress. Just as I'm wearing this dress, I can also change the dress and put on some other dress. I'm not the dress. The same way the body is the dress of the soul. And as we give up the body, we'll take another body. Vachamsi jarnani yata vihaya navani krenati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jarnani anyani samyati navani dehe. Just like we change the garments, we change also the body. We give up one body, take another body. We are preparing for the next birth. This life is part of our journey, and we want to prepare for the next life. Where do you want to take your next birth? Where do you want to go? Just like people think about the future. You think about the future. You make preparations for the future. You're saving, you're putting money away for the future. So, in the same way, we want to prepare for the next life, the future birth. Where do you want to have your next birth? It's important for us to think on the spiritual platform. Don't just think only of the material body, but think about ourselves as a soul. The real happiness is within. We're all looking for happiness. The happiness is actually within us. But we're looking around, we're thinking, maybe this one, maybe that one, maybe this car, maybe that house, maybe this job, maybe that, so many, we're trying to make so many adjustments to find happiness. But the real happiness is within. We just have to look within, and you can find the eternal happiness, the happiness of the soul. And it begins when you start to chant the Maha Mantra. If you start to chant faithfully and regularly the holy names of the Lord, then you will feel your consciousness change and you can experience transcendental pleasure more and more with every step. I'm not just saying that. I've been chanting Hare Krishna for more than 50 years. So I'm encouraging you also that you can do yourself great benefit by chanting the holy names, by chanting this Maha Mantra. And this can give you success in life. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Anyone? How many people are chanting here? Chanting? Very good, yes. Yes, everyone should chant. If you don't have beads, you should get some beads. We keep a bag with our beads in it, and we keep them with us, and we chant every day regularly. It's very enjoyable and it's very beneficial. Yes?
You explain the pastime of the dog and the devotees. How is that different from Bharat Maharaj and his attachment to the deer in the episode of Shiva?
Maharaji is asking about Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj, he was the famous king, and he renounced everything and he went to the Himalayas. He went all the way to Ganduki, where the Ganduki river is, where the shaligrams are. And he was staying there, but somehow he got attached to a little deer. What happened? The mother deer died, and the little deer was left with no one to care for it. So Bharat Maharaj took the deer and began to care for it. He began to feed it and take care of it. And it happened that he fell off a cliff, and next life he had to become a deer in his next life. So she is asking, how does this compare? Because I told this story about a devotee giving mercy to the dog. So how does this compare to Bharat Maharaj? That he became attached to a deer and he had to become a deer. So did this devotee become attached to the dog? Is he going to be a dog in his next life? Well, it's not wrong to be compassionate to the animals. But what happened was Bharat Maharaj was neglecting his own sadhana. He was neglecting his own spiritual practice. And his whole meditation and concentration was turning to the dog, to the deer rather. He was just thinking about the deer. And that's what happened. He fell off the cliff and he became a deer because he was thinking only of the deer. But we told this story about the devotee taking care of the dog. He was giving the dog prasadam. And he was not like all the time meditating on the dog, but he saw the dog as a spirit soul. And he saw that that spirit soul in the body of the dog was attached to the devotees and wanted mercy. So he was giving mercy. He was giving it prasadam. At the same time, he was not bewildered. He did not sacrifice his own sadhana just for the service of the dog. So, maybe you have a dog, we don't mind, you want to have a dog. Usually we won't let dogs in the house. Dogs, usually we keep them outside. And of course, it's a bit cold here, maybe, but some dogs, they're made for this kind of weather. They have a good fur, and you give them some good grass and so on, you give them a kennel, they're okay. They don't need to live in your apartment with you. And certainly it's not good if you have a deity at home, then it's, your cleanliness is being sacrificed by keeping animals in the home. But we don't object to animals. We like animals. We know they're also souls. They're just suffering due to karma. Their soul is being placed in the animal's body. And we can help them by giving them prasadam and by chanting the holy name. And Prabhupada was in New York, and sometimes there would be cockroaches, You live in New York, big buildings, multi-story buildings, and you get all these kind of insects. So sometimes Prabhupada would get the roach, he'd say, chant Hare Krishna and tell it to go out, get it out. And Prabhupada also told about his father His father, when he was a young boy, his father had a cloth business in Calcutta. And the shop was in Bara Bazaar. You know, if you know Calcutta, Bara Bazaar, it's a very congested area. The markets are up there, you see. So there's a lot of rats there. So the danger is that the rats will eat the cloth. So his father every night would put out a bowl with rice, and then let the rats would come. They would eat the rice, they wouldn't eat the cloth. And so, you know, he recognized, you know, the rats also have to get some food, you know. So he would give them some rice rather than let them eat the cloth. That's Vaishnava way of dealing with these things. So we do care for all living entities. Of course, we don't bring dogs and so on into the temple, you know, but you can give them prasadam outside. Yes, brother?
What was the best advice you have ever received in regards to chanting japa?
What is the best advice
You have ever received when it comes to chanting japa? Doing japa meditation.
What's the best advice?
That you have ever received.
Well, the best advice is that we should chant in the association of devotees who are serious chanters. If you get good association with people who will chant, you know, if your association is not very good, then the people will just sit and talk to you when you're supposed to be chanting, you know. You're trying to chant and people will say, you know, they want to talk to you, and your mind, you know, is taken away from the... So it's important that you're with somebody who's serious in chanting. And if they're chanting very seriously, then you will also be inspired to chant also with them. So chant with good association. It's good also to chant in a place where you're not going to get distracted. If you try to chant in front of a television, it's not a good idea, you know. You try to chant in front of, you know, a lot of newspapers and other books and things, you can easily get distracted from the chanting. So the best place to chant is you come here to the temple room and chant here in the temple room. This is the best place to chant every day. Make a point to come here and chant. Well, you don't get distracted so easily here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your class. You compare the body as a vehicle or as a dress, but what about our mind? How we can deal with our mind?
Well, how to deal with the mind. I was talking about that to some people this morning. I was telling you, the mind is like a wild animal. You know how to train a wild animal? Do you know? How do you train a wild animal? You starve it, and then you beat it, and then you feed it. All right? This is how you deal with the mind. To make the mind obedient, you have to train the mind. You have to train the mind to give up the attachment to the material and to become attached to the spiritual. We get too much attached to the material, and that is the cause of the greatest entanglement. So how to disconnect yourself from the material? You have to hold on to the spiritual. You have to hold on to Krishna. Hold on to your Bhagavad Gita. Keep your Bhagavad Gita with you and read it constantly and recite the slokas from Bhagavad Gita. Jai Gaurnitai ki. Read the slokas from the Bhagavad Gita and chant. This is how you can deal with the mind. Bring the mind to Krishna. by hearing and chanting. You have to hear very carefully. People often hear, they go one ear and out the other, right? Everything lost. So when you hear, you want it to go to the heart. It should go to the heart. And then you'll keep it with you. So you have to hear with fixed, rapt attention. And don't just hear, but actually apply what we hear. You have to use it. Use it in the service of Lord Krishna. All right, so now it's time for Arti. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.